Okay. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the second edition of the Water Education series hosted by Wednesdays for Water Foundation in collaboration with Terry School of Advanced Studies. We were just discussing in the during the pre-session is that perhaps water is one of the most pressing challenge that we are having today, and ironically, it is least discussed amongst the masses. It is, I visualize it is like a hidden iceberg waiting to crash a Titanic ship. It is something like this. So, and even when we talk of climate change, perhaps the manifestation of climate change is going to happen through in water mode. So, water and climate is interlinked and influence each other. So, what we attempt to do in this series is to illustrate how exciting water education can be, how various disciplines feed into a holistic water program, and how water resources related education can be infused in existing disciplinary based programs. So water education can happen either way. It is not necessary always to have a standalone water program. Even the existing programs can imbibe examples, illustrations, and define how their discipline addresses the water problem. So here we will hear directly from professionals working in the field. So in the last session in June, we have seen how water education is relevant in biological science and data science. Today we will again see two very relevant and two divergent fields, that is liberal science and artificial intelligence, and how these two disciplines and sciences feeds into the water program and also addresses challenges of water we are having today. So we have with us Miss Chandni from Navjyoti Foundation. She has been a science student, but has been working with communities for almost over 2 years, 20 years. So obviously she will provide insights about application of behavioral science in water education and water challenges. And then we also have with us Mr. Adil from Terry School of Advanced Studies, and will illustrate the application of artificial intelligence in water resources management. The profile of our speakers is perhaps available in the link. We have with us Ms. Ritu Rao, and she will take the discussion forward after we hear from the speakers. So I now invite Ms. Chandni to share her thoughts with us.
Thank you so much, sir, for this opportunity. It's a pleasure to be here. I also take a moment to thank Dr. Mansi and Dr. Fauzia for this wonderful platform. And greetings to all the fellow speakers, all the participants and viewers who have joined us through YouTube link channel. So let me share my screen, but in the meanwhile, maybe I can request all our viewers to just visualize 2050. Let's say if you are in 2050 and we wake up, we go to the kitchen and we find that there is no water in the tap. And then one has to actually go through the ration card and see how much water is allotted for the day. And when we step out, the green trees, the green grass is thing of the past. So why did we arrive here? Why did this situation come? So maybe we can have n number of reasons. We may talk about urbanization was the problem. We may talk about population, management issue, demand supply gap, and so on and so forth, or governance issues and so on and so forth. But one important aspect that we often tend to miss is our own behavior, is our relationship, our connect with water, which is something that I am going to talk about in today's session. So this is what I'm going to touch upon, the ground challenges that exist and why it is important to understand behavioral sciences in this context with a few case studies. And as Dr. Kansal mentioned, how is this linked with other disciplines and what are the career prospects in this context? So if we see this pyramid and behavior is basically what we see, what we observe. But how are the behaviors formed? What shapes a behavior is something that you see at the right bottom of this inverted pyramid, which is the values, the core values, the intrinsic values, which are really held, inside us. And these cluster of values actually form the value, it forms the value orientation, which eventually shapes our attitudes and form the social norms and our intentions and the behavior, how we act, how what we believe in, and so on and so forth. So when we talk about behavioral sciences, it is actually the four values that we talk about, which is your biospheric value, that is care for the environment, altruistic value, which is care for others, egoistic value, which is being concerned about one's own self, and then there is hedonic values, which is care for, concern for the pleasure or the comfort, uh, that we often talk about, the pleasure. So if there are so many, each individual, as we've seen, is different with so many diverse values, then obviously they will have differential perceptions. Their faith, their belief systems will be very, very different from each other, which is a key challenge when we work in the community. Then there are issues like their relationships with the water, their relationships with each other, like a bhaichara system in the water sector that we often talk about. So, which is again very, very complex. Then, to add to that, there are power relations that exist in the society. It may be due to gender norms, it could be due to socioeconomic status, could be due to caste, creed, and so on. Then there are economic issues. We know that all we have communities coming from diverse economic status. Now, if we talk about low income group population, perhaps they may not prioritize water quality because the equipments, or they may be very costly. And the other thing could be that for them, if the water is clear, they may perceive it that it is of good quality. However, what they may need is only the reliable or access to continuous access to water. So these are economic issues related to the water, why we need to understand the behavior, the perception of the people. And then there could be lack of awareness, lack of knowledge, and this is something that I'm going to touch upon in one of the case studies. And then there are technological issues. Then there could be a technology which perhaps may not be accepted by the community because, again, their needs may be different or their perceptions could be different. And then there is governance issues, like within a community, there could be diverse institutions that may exist. Like there are Pani Samitis, then there are Panchayat, then there could be other issues like political will, leadership, and so on. So when you have these challenges, at the same time, understanding this behavioral science in the water context also offers diverse opportunities. One thing is very clear, that there is no one size fits all strategy, considering so many challenges, and the values are different. But understanding these values, it actually helps to deepen the knowledge of personal values as well as social values, which can eventually influence the policies. The Life Mission by Government of India is actually all about behavioral change. And then if we talk about the service providers, these days, role of service providers is not just restricted to, providing essential services. Even they need to connect with the community. They need to work on the behavioral change of the community. Then understanding these beliefs can also help us to come up with various adaptive and sustainable approaches to water supply, reuse, stormwater management. And when we understand the values and perception of people, we can actually have an effective engagement with them, which can eventually build up the social capital. Further, there could be, one can devise some kind of incentives, subsidies, public-private partnership. Once we know the values, once we know how people behave, but information and communication is something that play a very critical role. Once we understand what kind of values these people have, the community has, we can have targeted communication to, change the behavior. Uh, Again, having just the posters which has the messages Jal Bachao, Kal Bachao may not work for all kind of communities. Or when we talk of communication mechanisms, maybe wall painting may work in a school to nudge children to conserve water, but the same thing may not work in a peri-urban community where people may just put up posters on the walls. So it needs to be very, very targeted. And understanding these needs, understanding the perceptions, understanding the behavior and values is eventually, required for overall human well-being. To give you some examples, this is one of the village Kerala in Gurugram district, and this is a pond which has an aesthetic value for community. So basically community wanted a pond where they could have a walking track, they could have greenery around. So and they wanted to rejuvenate the water. And one of the agencies, they rejuvenated this water body by installing this bore well in the pond. So the water is actually being pumped out from the ground to rejuvenate this pond. On the other hand, in the same village, there are bores which have dried up and people are not getting even drinking water. The water level has gone so it has really gone down. So basically what we're trying to say is, while we understand that there are aesthetic values, people want this, but then lack of awareness and knowledge to use nature-based solutions. Maybe one could have diverted the wastewater, treated the wastewater, or the gray water that we may say, to the pond and rejuvenated the pond. Of course, like Dr. Kansal mentioned, that it is linked with a lot of other disciplines, the hydrological experts, the water experts, the civil engineers, all they need to work around this issue to kind of solve this. Here is another example. This is a village Ghamroj, again a peri-urban space where water is provided. There is a municipal supply water. At the same time, in this village, there is an RO installed for the community by an agency. Now, this particular village has TDS, which is within the permissible limits, but the RO which is installed and through which people fetch water, the TDS is 37 ppm, which is in a way called as dead water. Now, in the same community, there is a UF and UV installed, which has all the water parameters within the acceptable limits. But what we found that people were not accepting this because there was some kind of order which was observed. So there was a perception in the community that RO water is good, though it is a dead water. So this was one of the main challenges, that how do we change the mindset, change the values, the belief systems of the community to switch to UF or UV. And when we, did a survey in this village, we found that the department, the Panchayati Raj department, had actually installed the pipeline, as you can see in the picture, in these drains. And on top of that, people had set up, they had installed these illegal connections through this main water pipeline, because of which there was the issue of order. So on the one hand, there is a challenge to change the mindset, the perception of the people of the community, that RO water may not always be good. And simultaneously, we have to inspire them and motivate them to get away with these illegal connections. The good part is that PHED department is working very closely with the community to bring out this behavioral change. While they could have simply disconnected these connections, but even they are now working to bring out the behavioral change. This is the third case study, which is again a peri-urban space called Berka. Now here again there is a pond. Now this pond has a spiritual significance. Uh, Again, municipal corporation has diverted the grey water from the community into this space, into this pond. Now, because this has a religious importance, so what community has done is they have divided the pond into two parts, one which is used for religious ceremonies, which is a fresh water, and the other for grey water. Again, the fresh water is being pumped out from the ground because rainwater is not enough to rejuvenate the pond, although it is there for a few months. But community wants to fill this pond with fresh water. Now, one of my colleagues who's a civil engineer and an expert in environment suggested that why can't we treat this grey water with nature-based solution, and the treated water can then be diverted to this freshwater pond, which is a very good solution. But when we went back to the community, they completely refused. They said, we will not allow this to happen. even the treated water will not be diverted to this freshwater pond. So, what I wish to say is that it is so important to understand behavioral science in the context of other programs like civil engineering, so that we can, once we know what people want, once we empathize with them, we are able to design and provide some sustainable and effective solutions. Then it has very much relevance in IT sector, where once we understand behavioral science and water education, we can come up with gamification to nudge communities, or we can develop smart technologies or innovative platforms for feedback, where people feel, the community feels that they do not have any grievance mechanism. Communication, as I previously mentioned, that it plays a very important role. So what kind of content do we create to nudge communities to adopt sustainable lifestyles? Then in policy studies, once we understand the needs and perceptions of the end users, we can actually come up with various policies. For example, maybe people are willing to pay more for good quality and reliable source of water. But if we do not know their needs, or if we do not know what they are if they are willing to pay, we perhaps may just end up supplying them with free water. Then psychology and water, behavioral science and water, it helps to inspire and motivate people. It One can navigate through power relationships once we understand the behavior of the community or the values that they have. Again, in sociology and anthropology, it helps us to understand the community dynamics or the cultural practices. Like in Haryana, there is Johar Pujan or Kuan Pujan. So once we understand the culture, we can actually, this can help us to take us towards sustainable lifestyles. Economics, when we talk about, we can devise some incentives. Then education, to come up with some effective curriculum and pedagogy. And the last is about the career opportunities that the students may have. One can apply as data analyst. Somebody just recently said that data tells a beautiful story when it is complemented with qualitative insights or the behavioral insights of the community. So once we understand the behavior science and complement this with data sciences, one can apply as data analyst in international agencies, government agencies, and research institutes. Environmental engineering is something that I've just talked about, and one can apply in engineering firms, municipal authorities, environmental agencies. As economists, one can apply in international agencies, government agencies, and research institutes. Then sustainability consultant is another opportunity, and these days there's a lot of scope in corporates and business development, specifically related to ESG and CSR. As policy analysts in government agencies and think tanks and advocacy groups, as water specialist, as in consultancy agencies and development sectors. And like I mentioned, that even the municipal water agencies these days are hiring consultants who can actually work on ground and bring out this behavioral change amongst the communities. As scientists and educators, one can work in universities and research institutes, NGOs, and government agencies. And then there are policymakers. So yeah, that's I think my time. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you very much, Chandni. I think it was very insightful, and to see that how behavioral science feeds into so many other disciplines and how they complement each other. So I now invite Dr. Adil to our next speaker for today's session. Over to you, Dr. Adil.
Thank you, sir. So thank you, everyone. I'm pretty honored and thank you for this opportunity for letting me present on this wonderful topic of artificial intelligence application in water education. I would love to thank Wednesday for Water Foundation for letting me speak on this wonderful topic. Is my screen visible to everyone?
Yes, Adil. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah. So artificial intelligence is a wonderful topic, and it's a state of the art topic. It's coming up with all sorts of uh, uh, advancement these days, and wonderfully quoted by Larry Page, co-founder of Google. He very rightly said that it definitely can help us in managing our water resources and also the biodiversity which is involved. And looking into the future, we can definitely look at artificial intelligence as a powerful tool for uh, attaining a sustainable world. And talking about artificial intelligence, I mean, in a very rudimentary form, we can say that it is nothing but a computer system. And this computer system is designed to do certain tasks. And these tasks may be, I mean, they vary from either learning, reasoning, prediction, decision making. But mind you, these tasks are based and inspired from human intelligence. So some of the tasks which artificial intelligence is expert at, and we are in a day and age where the artificial intelligence is growing smarter and smarter day by day, is one basic example which I need to give is that we all have Alexa, we all have, I mean, smart vacuum cleaners at home. So the idea of artificial intelligence, if, for example, if we take the example of vacuum cleaners, smart vacuum cleaners, which are based on artificial intelligence technique, is the fact that they first they interact with the environment, and once they interact with the environment, they get better and they make smarter decisions. And once they make the smarter decisions, they improve their performance. So it's all a blank sheet at the starting, and once they train themselves, they get better day by day. So some of the prominent applications of artificial intelligence we all see, we is in the images also. You can see that there is image classification, and image classification is all present in our mobile phones also. We see Google Photos is one of the biggest application of artificial intelligence, where we see the direct application of image classification. Then we have recommendation softwares and recommendation platforms, and we these recommendation platforms and recommendation systems, they work on the concept of artificial intelligence, where they take up the data, and they take up the history of the user, and based on that history, they give a particular they give they design the entire browsing experience for the user. So some of these recommendation systems, they vary from Netflix and Amazon, which are very popular in terms of recommendation systems is concerned. And we have chatbots there, and we have chatbots which I mean, prevalently used by many companies in order to get a direct conversation between the user and the the industries. Apart from that, we see a plethora of applications and of artificial intelligence. We see there is Siri, which is a famous artificial intelligence application in iPhones. And also we see that Tesla has also been using artificial intelligence in terms of self-autonomous vehicles, self-driving autonomous vehicles. So around us, we are totally surrounded by direct or indirect applications of artificial intelligence. So just on a broader basis, we divide the artificial intelligence in these schemas. And we have the classification in terms of machine learning. We have natural language processing, the expert systems which we developed, and we have planning based systems which are based on artificial intelligence. We have vision based systems, we have robotics, we have speech. So I think all of us in our journey to artificial intelligence somewhere down the line must have been acquainted, I mean, heard about this term called machine learning, which is a very famous form of artificial intelligence. And machine learning generally handles the task of classification, prediction, and it is more or less a very I mean, famous and popular AI subset, or a branch of artificial intelligence, which is in trend these days. And these machine learning softwares or models, they can be supervised, unsupervised, and reinforced. I mean, I don't want to go into technicalities, but just a tentative discussion about this fact that the supervised means that you have an output with you when you are going for classification or regression. Unsupervised, you don't have an output with you. And in terms of reinforcement, or you that is based on environment and reward basis. So natural language processing is based this kind of artificial intelligence form is more or less based on improving the interaction between making the computers learning about the human languages and how they interact, how they perceive, interpret the human languages. And one of the popular example of natural language processing is Google Translate, and we've been prevalently using this form of artificial intelligence. Then expert systems are more or less finished artificial intelligence products, and these are IA applications which mimic decision making abilities of human expert in a particular domain. So, for example, I will give you an example of expert system which have been which is Mycin, 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 which is very readily used in the industry of biotechnology and in medical sciences, in fact. And this Mycin is used for detecting bacterial infections, and also it recommends antibiotics. And apart from that, there is another expert system, Dendral, which has been used in biotechnology, and that helps us understand the biological structure. So these are expert systems. Apart from that, artificial intelligence have been used in vision, for instance, image segmentation and image classification. You have your Google Photos. That is a classical example of vision. And robotics, you have companies like Boston Dynamics, which have been using artificial intelligence in their projects. And one of the famous robots which have been come up is Big Dog and Spot. One of the these are some popular robots which have been coming up. And apart from that, we have Google Translate, where we see direct application of artificial intelligence from for speech applications point of view. So how did the evolution of AI took place? So starting off in 1950 to 1960, we saw that there was Dartmouth conference, and some group of super scientists, Professor John McCarthy, Claude Shannon, and there was Professor Marvin Minsky, who sat down, and during that conference, they were discussing about the fact how we'll be able to, how we'll be able to replace the able to perform computer operations which were based on human intelligence. So ultimately, John McCarthy, he worked upon this concept, and he came up with the term AI in 1950s and 60s. And still a lot of work was done after 1950s, 60s, but he was considered as the father of artificial intelligence at that time. And then in 1970s and 80s, we saw the development of expert systems, and we very much saw the development of artificial neural networks, which is again one of the principal components of subsets of artificial intelligence. And we saw that AN was now developed with also with backpropagation techniques, and these backpropagation techniques are nothing but the these are techniques on the basis of which these models, they tend to go for learning. So these are learning techniques. This is a learning technique which was developed at that point. And apart from that, we saw that in 1900, we saw the IBM computer which played chess. It defeated Garry Kasparov in a chess game, and we saw that it developed a lot of hype at that moment, and and was seen as an AI breakthrough at that point of time. And we saw another model, supervised model, support vector machine, which gained popularity during that time. But until the time 2010, we saw that there was a very giant leap in terms of artificial intelligence is concerned, and we saw that the introduction of deep learning, and deep learning started to gain popularity. And nowadays, deep learning is which is nothing but the advanced form of artificial neural networks, saw the direct. We see its application everywhere. I mean, in terms of in field of medical sciences, in field of air pollution, environment, water, everywhere. I mean, we see in agriculture, and everywhere we see the direct application of deep learning. And 2020 and beyond, we see that AI has completely surrounded us, and we see that now companies are coming up with potent solutions, and in fact they are now approaching and utilizing artificial intelligence for climate solutions. IBM has also been doing a lot of work in terms of preparing AI based tools which are targeting providing feasible climate solutions. So, what are the prerequisites in terms of artificial intelligence? To be very honest, I think if we take in terms of artificial intelligence is concerned, I mean, to be very well acquainted with all the concepts of artificial intelligence, one should be very much sound in mathematics, because ultimately, when you will deal with artificial intelligence, you will have to crunch numbers, where you will have to, in terms of data distribution, in terms of normalization, in terms of providing imputation techniques, in terms of averaging, and all sorts of things. They require basic concepts of mathematics. So I think a little background about in mathematics would be quite helpful in gaining, gaining expertise in artificial intelligence. Apart from that, I think computer science also plays a very important role. A person well acquainted with programming languages, Python, Java, or C++, I think will do well in artificial intelligence, and he will be in a better position to understand the concepts which are related to AI. And again, we see that the people having machine learning background, they also cope up with the, cope up with the intricate concepts of artificial intelligence well. And people, of course, when we are dealing with AI, we'll have to play around with data also. And we see that a lot of engineers and a lot of scientists who have knowledge about data science, they tend to have, they tend to grasp the concepts related to AI. So all in all, these subjects are very much important for developing a basic foundation regarding artificial intelligence. So why artificial intelligence? So why coming to the water crisis, that is the crux of our presentation at the moment. So we look at the water crisis and we see that it's a catastrophe at the moment, and we see that according to World Bank, maybe around in 2050, we see that around 143 million people will have will have the effect of direct water stress. And according to a report by UN, around 785 million people, they have lack of access to drinking water. So that shows that as we progress towards another century or another decade, we'll have direct impact of water. So this crisis has not World Bank has presented this crisis in I've shown two graphs in terms of what the current situation and what will be the situation in coming years will be. And we see that the access to renewable freshwater sources per capita is decreasing, and also the global freshwater use is on the run. It's increasing and it's peaking, and God knows then where it will end. And ultimately, we have this problem of water quality and water management with us. And so far, we are struggling with this problem. So, in terms of water management, what can be the solution? I think AI provides a very feasible and optimal solution in terms of water sector and water management is concerned. And where do we see its application? We see its application in predictive analytics, where we go for prediction. And through this prediction, we can be in a better position to manage. And we see the prediction in terms of weather. We have AccuWeather apps in our mobile phones. They are a direct application of artificial intelligence, tell us about the weather changes and the weather patterns, which local weather patterns which we have. And then we have prediction of rainfall through artificial intelligence, water availability, and prediction of droughts can be done through artificial intelligence. And a famous model by NASA, FLDAS, Famine Early Warning System, which was developed by NASA, works on the climate model and climate data and ground observation data, is a very productive in terms of drought forecasting is concerned. So we can do predictive analytics through this. And apart from that, the infrastructure management, I think, in terms of leak detection or maintenance cycle, if you want to go for that. There is another popular software which is used in industry by the name PipeMinder, which helps us in detection of leaks, and that works on acoustic data and pressure data. So that can be done through AI. Apart from that, we can go for real-time monitoring and pollution detection, and optimization can also be done. So optimization can be done for the entire process, for the entire water management plant. And for optimization, I think we introduced this concept of digital twin, which is very new these days. And this is a technique of, this is nothing but replication of the physical infrastructure which we have. And this mirroring of the physical infrastructure through artificial intelligence, we tend to develop digital models through artificial intelligence, and we tend to, and through this, we are in a better position for real-time monitoring, or maybe we can go for predictive analytics or optimization of network performances. So Siemens has been doing a lot of work in this digital twin concept, and through this digital twin, I think we can work out a very feasible solution for managing our water resources. And what are the through this diagram we can see that what are the advantages or what are the end results, which benefits we get through this technology, which is AI driven. We have the operational insights, we have the planning, maintenance planning, emergency preparedness. For instance, if there is a leakage of pipe burst, we can definitely know about which area in the water treatment plant or water distribution plant has that leakage, or and then if we want to go for expansion, then this whole tool will let us know how the expansion can be brought about. So this is one of the state of the art applications of AI which is going around these days, and many I want to mention um, Siemens, which has been using these technologies in Malaysia, Singapore, and also University of Bristol, if I'm not wrong, where they're analyzing the pump functions, pump optimization through this technique. So some of the prominent AI applications in water sector have been discussed here. I mean, Swachh Pani is one of the initiatives which was in collaboration with Triple IT Kerala and IBM India, and they came up with this artificial intelligence based system which helped them monitor water quality, and the parameters which were monitored were temperature, pH, and metals and non-metals can be monitored in real time. Apart from that, Google has also come up with some of the models, and inundation models were presented through Google research, which helped in mitigating the flood risks associated. So flood flow or flood prediction can be done, water levels can be done through these models which have been developed by Google. And then Royal Haskoning has also come up with a AI-based tool, AquaSuite, which helps in monitoring and managing the water levels and the water quality. And Siemens, as I already mentioned, has come up with digital twin, and this it has been uh, very path breaking from Siemens, that it's exporting this technique to other parts of the world. And there have been clients from Africa, there have been clients from Southeast Asia, which have been using this in order to, governments have been using, many governments have been using this technology in order to manage their water resources. So some of these techniques are very path breaking. So coming to the career avenues in terms of AI application in water sector, I think I've bifurcated this into data science and modeling, where we can find there are a lot of or a lot of openings for data analysis concerned. A lot of data has been generated through water and the studies which are related to water. So this post is always open and in demand. And a machine learning engineer, I mean, people are there to, companies, they want to predict, they want to classify, and so they want people who can directly develop machine learning models in order to forecast, in order to classify, in order to run these models, and have better preparedness. Then AI researcher is always one can do research in this field. In terms of management and optimization, we have water resource managers, smart irrigation specialists. We want to know how much amount of water can, through the help of artificial intelligence, we can have a tentative idea. We have it, not a tentative, but a clarity in terms of how much water is maybe required for the fields and all. Monitoring and environmental science, we always we have the post of environmental data scientist, water quality analyst. We can through artificial intelligence and physical testing, we can have information about the river water quality or the lake water quality, or these posts are always available. In terms of public health and safety, we have a public health specialist and emergency response coordinator, which is always there. Policy analyst and risk management specialist posts are also some of the career revenues in terms of AI is concerned. So, what next can we think of artificial intelligence? Maybe some way down the line, say 15 or 20 years, we will see that there will be more focus on ultra precision water management, and we will see that there will be more emphasis on hyper local water solutions. So, if say suppose a locality or a certain area wants to have information about water quality, he can or she can do that on just sitting on a desk and have all of the information regarding the water quality. Now, desalination, as we see that Middle East, is getting its access to the water through this desalination process, and it is a very energy intensive process, and thereby more emphasis will be laid in future in terms of reducing the energy efficient. The energy consumption of these processes, this desalination process. Personalized water solutions, based on your health and your living style, we'll have the water quality, and customized water treatment can be achieved in future based on your demands. And ultimately, when this, because right now we have the phase of deep learning and artificial intelligence, ultimately we'll see that more advanced techniques like quantum computing will be integrated and will be used in terms of getting more information on water quality. And definitely we'll see that there will be integration with respect to, and we'll also have information regarding, we want information regarding big climate models. So we'll see somewhere down the line, we'll see that the role of quantum computing will also be in the picture. So thank you so much for your patience. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Adil. I think it's really very informative, and so I think it's over to you, Ritu. You may start the discussions with the speakers.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Chandni Bedi and Mr. Adil Masood, for providing valuable insights into the role of behavioral sciences and AI in water education. Now, I have a few questions related to these themes that I hope will further clarify some points. Uh, Ms. Bedi, I agree with you that for management and conservation of water resources, community participation is crucial. But in order to motivate the communities to participate, we need to understand their behavior, which is driven by their value sets. In your first slide, you mentioned four types of values: biospheric, altruistic, egoistic, and hedonic. Once you have identified the predominant value in a particular community and recognizing the importance of biospheric values, how do you facilitate the community's transition from their current predominant values to biospheric values?
So it's a very good question, Ritu. Thank you for asking that. But before I respond to that, I would also like to add that sometimes there are conflicting priorities as well between the two value orientations. When I say that, it could be that people with biospheric values who have concern for environment, they are the ones who may be extracting water from the bore wells. And this has happened in one of the newly, there's a new peri-urban space where people are actually extracting water. But what we found was that when we spoke to them, when we interacted with them, they said if we will get a municipal supply water, we will actually convert our, bore wells to a recharge system. So basically, when we talk about values, we also have to think in a very holistic way. So it is very interdisciplinary here in this case, governance and policies, all this also comes into picture. But to respond to your question, how can we, transition towards the biospheric values? Let's say there is a community, or there are people, individuals with egoistic values. For them, perhaps they may be motivated to use water efficient appliances if it saves their cost. And that is where, policies and right kind of communication comes into picture. Similarly, people who have hedonic values, they we can have some kind of discount coupons for them. Let's say if we encourage them to buy some product which is a natural product, and offer vouchers to them because they love going to salons or to resorts. That is how we can navigate through it and help them transition towards biospheric values, while we understand their predominant value is hedonic value. Similarly, again, going back to people with egoistic values, we have seen that, penalizing them for rainwater harvesting has not actually helped. So can we think of the other way to incentivize them, so that they transition towards the biospheric value? So eventually our idea is to take them towards sustainable lifestyles. There could be, other ideas as well. I mean, we've all seen a concept called Rahagiri in Delhi and NCR, where people were encouraged to come out of their homes on Sundays and adopt healthy lifestyles. So, and we know that youth today, and especially the people in the mainstream urban, they're not even aware that there is a water body, across their society. So, can we have some kind of activities around the water bodies where people who are motivated or have these hedonic values, they want recreational activities, they want to enjoy the comfort of the green spaces and the water bodies, design some kind of activities around that, where we talk about water, we talk about maybe the myths around water bodies, the legends around water bodies, and these water issues. So I think these are some of the ideas, but yes, there could be range of ideas once we understand the value systems and the behavior of the communities.
Thank you, Ms. Chani. My next question is to Mr. Adil. You mentioned some examples of AI application in water sector in your presentation. Could you elaborate
Yes,
on
ma'am.
some examples of AI applications in the Indian water sector apart from Swachh Pani, which you have already mentioned? And also,
Yes.
could you discuss job prospects for Indian students in AI-assisted projects in the Indian water sector?
Yeah. So the first question which you had pointed out, I mean, there are a lot of applications, but not at big scale. For instance, Central Water Commission, which is under Ministry of Jal Shakti, it's in collaboration with a certain MNC, and it has been using machine learning and inundation models for real-time river measurement and forecasting of floods. So one of the direct applications of this is, apart from that, Delhi Jal Board has also been using artificial intelligence in order to manage their sewage treatment plants. Apart from that, I would like to draw your attention towards two Indian organizations, two startups. One was Gujarat Mahila Housing Seva Trust, and another one is the Willigro Innovation Foundation. They both have been using artificial intelligence IoT devices to to address the threats which are around water scarcity and flooding in India. So in terms of academia, if you look at the academia, IIT Kharagpur has also been also developed artificial intelligence based models for arsenic contamination. So there are instances where direct application of artificial intelligence is concerned, but not many. We are in the developing stage. I mean, the funding is also a very big factor in terms of artificial intelligence is concerned, because you require a lot of processing, you require GPUs, you require machines, and ultimately we have the brains with us, but definitely we require these all resources. It's concerned. And apart from that, in terms of students, I was looking at all the big companies. We have TCS, we have BHEL, we have L&T, Larsen Toubro, and they all require students who can integrate artificial intelligence in management of water systems. So ultimately, there is a scope for uh, I mean, for data scientists, people, there are openings for data scientists, there are openings for machine learning engineers, there is opening for environmental engineers. So there is a direct, I mean, recruitment for students who have skills and interdisciplinary skills. I mean, they should have knowledge about their core subjects for instance, water in this case, and they should have their concepts clear in terms of artificial intelligence is concerned. So companies are very much looking forward to recruit these, but ultimately you have to have the skills. The prospects are bright.
Thank you
Thank you.
so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
No.
Thank you very much, Ritu. I see one question in the chat box, and perhaps it may be for Chandni. The question is that she wants you to ask that when there are variations in the society in terms of values, each person has different values. So, how to assess the value of a society or an organization when there are so many differences? So this is what the question is. So exactly, if I verbatim read, value-based behavioral intervention talk wanted to ask when there are variations in society and organization, how to assess value.
Yeah, so there are actually, Tanya, a range of tools and techniques which are available to assess the values. If you're a researcher, then there are tools like it's called Environment Portrait Value Questionnaire. It's developed by Schwartz. So you can use that kind of tool to assess the intrinsic values of the communities, and then link it and relate it with their water use behavior. That is one tool. The other could be fuzzy cognitive mapping. That's another tool. But in development sector, I strongly recommend, based on the time and resources, to use something called design thinking approach. Now, design thinking, it actually starts with empathy, where you reach out to the communities, you organize focus group discussions with diverse groups. So it should be homogeneous groups. So a different group of, let's say, there's one group with female, the other with youth, and so on and so forth. So have interactions with them, understand what their needs are, what they perceive, how do they value their ecosystem, the water bodies, understand their perceptions, and then create a prototype. And then again go back to them and try and understand if it aligns with the values of the other set of communities, other groups that you have interacted with. Um, so the idea is actually to navigate your ways to kind of come up with a resolution. In behavioral science, we don't say a solution because it may not be the best one, but we say resolution. It could be the best one in that particular situation, because that's what community wants. And I think this kind of tool is actually it's very practical, it is easy to use, and it leads to sustainable resolutions.
Thank you very much, Chani. And I think it will be injustice if I summarize talks of both of you, because each and everything which you have said is so relevant and apt that I think that it is the way forward to look into the water issues from the dimensions of digital science, data science, behavioral science, and so many things. But Adil, I remember initially you had given an example of vacuum cleaner robotics based, wherein it looks into the surrounding and behaves according to the situation of the surroundings. And again, of course, we as a human has given the values and behavior traits to that robotics, that how he should behave with the surrounding without crashing with it. And actually this is where the behavioral science is, that we also have to bring in the imbibe the values and bring in the behavior wherein our interaction with the surroundings is also do not clash with it. So this is where I think that examples give such a nice marriage between the behavioral science and artificial intelligence. So with this, I think we can end today's session. Over to you, Dr. Fazia, if you have anything else to
Yeah,
say.
thank you very much. I was completely glued to understand. Both Chandni and Adil brought out a completely unique set of, I would say, skills that are required for managing water. Marrying technology with behavior, and this was really amazing. Human minds are more complex. You can train models, Adil, much more easily, because you just program them and they follow you. They're more obedient. It doesn't really happen with human minds, and hence it's more difficult. And what Nani mentioned, that it's not a solution, it's a resolution. what could be the best fit in that given scenario. But thank you very much, Adil, Chandni, Ritu, and of course Professor Kansal, for taking lead in this. Today we are still struggling to make water education, like mainstreaming of water education. Water still constitutes a part of civil engineering. We really don't have a very strong program in water engineering in India. We do have programs on AI, but integration of AI into civil engineering teaching is still not there. So whatever we are doing, behavioral science is something that a student of psychology might study, but behavioral science is not what we are teaching our engineers. So this is something, there is still a lot of disconnect, and it's high time that we start thinking of integrating these together if we're really looking at sustainable management of our water bodies. But thank you very much. Very insightful discussion, and we look forward to interacting with you again, Professor Kansal. We look forward to more sessions. Both of them, I think the last session and this one, they have all been so insightful. Thank you, participants, for joining. I know most of them have left, but that itself shows, how keen people are with respect to water education. But regardless of that, thank you very much to those who have been here till the end. And we look forward to seeing you again. We do have sessions on Friday and Mondays as well, where we have Friday Waters, where mostly we do thesis discussions. We have Monday Munching with Women, where we do discussions, conversations with women water leaders. And then we have Wednesdays for Water. So we look forward to you having all of you in our future sessions. Do watch out, follow our social media handles on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on Instagram, and Twitter. We keep posting everything there. Thank you very much. Have a nice evening. Bye bye.